This video is for entertainment purposes only. Let's roll! What's up, guys? Well, that was me trying my hand at Israeli style pistol shooting. And Israeli style pistol shooting, the first time I got wind of it, I want to say was roughly about 1994, 1995. I was at a Walden Books reading a gun magazine. And I'm not one of those people who typically just reads magazines and puts them back on the shelf. And in this case, I had no money, so I did. Most of the time, I buy the magazines. But it showed the slide of what appeared to be a CZ75, or probably back then a Tanfoglio, because Eastern Europe hasn't really opened up at that point and started shipping in regular CZ75s. At least there was one CZ75 that was legit in town at the time, and it costed approximately, I wanted to say, I think it was $1,500 because it was an actual CZ75. So we take for granted a lot of these Eastern European type pistols that come in, you know, from Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic, and places like that. And the other thing we take into, kind of take for granted, I think, as a society of gun owners and shooters, is the ability to put a round accurately downrange. You know, every gun we get in theory has a pretty clean bore from the factory, you know, unless it's a really banged up, real bad milsurp. But anyways, I'm going to go on here real quick and get to the chase. The article was about Israeli shooting style, and I went over why Israel, you know, how this supposedly new to America at the time style worked. And I'll show you here. I decided to do the video with a CZ75B. I'm going to show you this side because all my serial numbers are on the other side. But I thought this pistol here lent itself relatively well to the video, and it kind of, I guess you could say, I don't know if it's the old world style of manufacturing or whatever, but it kind of, I think it kind of, I could see using this gun as an example for this particular video. So the Israeli style, according to the article that I read, was a style that's more of an improvised style. And what had happened was, early on in Israel's development, they got a lot of Lend-Lease type firearms. You know, firearms that came over on crates. There are donation guns brought over from other countries. Some of the safety, and the reason was, is that some of the safety features on these weapons were either weren't trustworthy or were non-existent altogether. So if you think this young country, you know, the army is just beginning to set up here, and you might have a problem with some terror activity in the country, arm groups of people and put them out there as protection details to, you know, keep an eye on crowds, keep an eye on venues, make sure nothing nefarious pops up. And so you have all these guns, not time to train people. And not only that, but if you don't have a safety on your gun, or a safety that's faulty, how do you even know you're going to have a holster? And that's actually a pretty good example of this. I have a heck of a time finding holsters for this gun, so I kind of know how they felt. But what they figured out, what would work, would be a shooting system. Instead of relying on the safety, it relied on the chambering of a round, which works on probably 100% of the semi-automatic handguns in the world. It would consist of pulling the weapon from the holster, bringing the gun to eye level, slingshotting that slide back, releasing it, and then firing. And so what it would be is the weapons would be carried without the round in the chamber, which, you know, worked for this particular situation. And if you think about it, you know, if I was walking from a venue or a location, and some guy jumped out of nowhere and tried to take my life, I probably would want a round in the chamber. You know, I probably would be carrying some kind of, you know, snub nose or something concealed with a round in the chamber, so it's, you know, I can get that weapon into service as fast as I could for my self-protection. But if you think about it, in a terror environment, a person's guarding a venue or keeping protection over a venue, the terrorist isn't necessarily there to mug that guy and kill that guy specifically. In my scenario, would be like an attacker, a one-on-one person attacker in a venue in a terror type setting. It would be the terrorist shows up there to cause problems, to create havoc, to do a terror act. And so, if the protection detail is there, in theory, they would have time to pull out their weapons and rack around it. Okay, so my hand goes to the middle section, my weak hand, weapon hand goes to my weapon, draw the weapon at high level, and slingshot that slide back and chamber around and fire. Push the target, push the executive over. That comes from executive protection. It actually goes to martial arts executive protection. That target next to me is to simulate a principal or protectee, and what it is as I put my hand on my weapon, my weak hand moves to my middle section. Go ahead and push the protectee out of the way, sweep them over, try to move them away from me, and I draw the weapon, bring it to eye level, rack around with the slide, and begin to engage the target. So just as I push the principal out of my way, I also spread my feet and bend my knees. Rayleigh method basically just focuses on hitting the target. That headshot wasn't part of the method. I just had an extra bullet and I put it through there. But it has to basically, the point is to get the weapon deployed and hit the threat. Not necessarily, you know, precision accuracy, but just put rounds that are effective on target. And so, and once again, you know, if you get a big giant crate of guns that are from some other country that have been sitting around, maybe they're using ammunition that was kind of questionable. You know, I mean, you ever seen a 1951 Brigadier, like an actual Beretta Brigadier, like an antique Beretta? And you look down the barrel, there's like almost no rifling left. It's like a smooth bore. And that's might have been, you know, some of the things they're contending with. You know, the thing is, we kind of take for granted the accuracy of these modern contemporary firearms. And of course, I have a full bore, but some of these things might have been launching a piece of lead down a smooth bore and they had no accuracy. The whole point is just to focus the rounds on target, get people away from the guy who was returning fire to the threat, and basically see if they could put rounds on target and hit the terrorist. And so that's kind of the whole method behind it. And everyone loves to just latch on and just attack it, but it's kind of a product of its time. It came from a certain time. Slingshotting the slide back would more than likely work on 90% of the weapons. They get the guns. They may be in questionable order. They may not even have a safety. And don't worry about the haters hacking on your style of shooting. Don't worry about the haters, just let the haters worry about you. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Hope to get out again.